local county candidates have papers, and also the state candidates over here if anybody wants to sign them before they leave.
Something it might vibrate, recording the audio. Remember the opera's recorded really well, so this should too. I feel good. This is what they get for packing us in like sardines. It's a good turnout. If it wasn't for girls basketball, I was expecting an auditorium and a microphone. I have to get up there and scream so the folks in the back can hear. It's fine. Like I say, I think it's going to look like Canada. I think you'll have the Trump supporters because he's leading, and then work your way down from Canada there. Dr. Ben, etc. If you have to, the bathroom is right out this way. So is the water fountain.
Under the
I'm going to get a sip of water.
Sweetheart, I realize they're gonna. You guys gonna be here on Saturday for
Yeah. I have to kind of turn my head. That's the hearing on his ear, and I just go
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, it's not my eardrum. It's not. So I go, that's why.
She's affiliated.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started at 7 o'clock. One more time, we need the Farragut people over here and the Riverton people over here as much as possible. Good, you're there.
Oh, no, we're in Farragut.
There's no room. There's nowhere we can help. We can't do anything about that.
Both precincts with one chair, except for the vote. We'll just pass out the individual ballots, each precinct, according to whoever you belong to. So, first order of business, I guess, is to elect a state or a permanent chairman. Is that nomination?
I nominate John Whipple.
all good.
Other nominations? Good nomination seat. Right over there, yeah. Okay, we have a motion for nomination seats, I guess I've been home. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Okay. Who wants to be the secretary?
Yeah. Yeah, whoever's.
I second that.
I'll third it.
Aye. Okay, we're going to start on the Caucus poll right now. And what we're going to do is give each candidate representative a couple of minutes to say something. We're going to do it in alphabetical order. So, Jeb Bush. Quickly.
Okay.
No Uncle James.
You know, this whole process, I can't remember a time in our collective history that it's been more important to nominate the right person than it is at this point in our country's history. I'm very, very fearful of our country and its future. When I started out this process, I've always said that you don't have to play workup in politics. You can enter at any level, run for any office you like. You don't have to accomplish a series of offices in order to run for something. If you've got the moxie, if you've got the courage, if you've got the money, you can take off and run for any office you like. That's the beautiful thing about this country. And this is very unusual this year. Of the four leading candidates in the country, in terms of polling, you have two that have never held office before in their lives. And you have two that are first-term senators that haven't even finished their first term. That's, how unusual is that? But as we started, my two favorites were Rubio and Bush, because I wanted someone that can win a general election. But as time has passed, and I've looked at Trump, I don't know if he can run a campaign of insults to the end or not. At some point, I'm still fearful the wheels will fall off, and we have no alternative as a party. I've looked at Carly Fiorina. I really like the cut her cloth, I have to tell you, but she just hasn't caught on. Chris Christie, I'm sorry, he lost me 4 years ago when he hugged Obama. Okay? And so, of the serious candidates, Ben Carson's a very nice man. I just don't see him doing it. Ted Cruz. Let me tell you a story. When I was in the state senate, we just had an election, and we all met in Caucus in Des Moines to elect a minority leader, because we were in the minority in the Senate. And we had one individual in our caucus, could not get anyone in the caucus to nominate him for minority leader. So he nominated himself. And we had the election, and as we're all streaming out of the committee room there in the Capitol, there he is with his press release, talking to reporters, telling them what he would have done if he'd been minority leader. I just shook my head. You know what? I was one of the two senators that counted votes. He had one vote, his own. So when I found out that Ted Cruz didn't have one single colleague that would support him in the Senate, that's enough for me. Well, guess what? I've come full circle, and I'm back to Rubio and Bush. I was asked to speak on Bush's behalf tonight, and it's with great pleasure that I do. In terms of family, in terms of an individual that's experienced, been there, done that, business, politics. He has all the integrity in the world. And he can get elected. So, as you consider all the candidates tonight, I hope you would consider Jeb Bush. And of course, if I had to pick a number two, it would be Marco Rubio. So I hope you would consider those things tonight, and thank you for listening to me and listening to my plea for candidates. Thank you.
Ben Carson? Okay, Chris Christie? Ted Cruz?
I've been following Mr. Cruz for quite some time. I think the point that Darrell just made there was that Cruz is not accepted by the insiders. That speaks volumes to me. We've got a lot of entrenched politicians. I think we need to clean house. I think Ted can handle it.
John Kasich. Rand Paul.
I'll speak for nobody else. First of all, I want to say something about, that's relevant to this school we're in, it's closing. That's something to keep in mind as I tell you something else. I was at Hewlett-Packard when Carly Fiorina took over. I was working on a $500 million Internet Chapter 2 project. They pulled me in there because I was one of the founders of the Internet. I'll tell you my story later on if you want to hear it. There was one guy I needed for my work. He was a Harvard PhD, an American, and a specialty in mathematics. I put in my requisition. I was turned down and told I could hire all the people from India I wanted. But I couldn't hire this American. The one guy that they needed for that $500 million project. I resigned. I'm back here in Iowa now. We are at war. Don't kid yourself. Right now, Silicon Valley is mostly foreign-born, and they know what they're doing. They're taking that $500 million and going into Stanford, MBA, and occupying the hiring positions of the Fortune 500 companies in the United States. That's what's happening to this country. Do not be deceived. I'm going to read my prepared statement. It's short. And some of you might think, why in the world would somebody who's supporting Rand Paul be talking like this when he should be supporting somebody like Trump? And I'll tell you why. The nation of immigrants is replacing the nation of settlers, which the U.S. Constitution calls both we the people and our posterity. The cost of replacement reproduction has exploded in the last 50 years, as young women have become the object of a bidding war between the economy and the family. Until the explosion in cost of replacement reproduction is addressed in the West, movements like ISIS will not only grow in strength, they will grow in virulence, even if we nuke the Middle East into a glowing green glass parking lot. Our blindness to the genocidal consequences of feminism only adds to the horror of the West as perceived by societies that haven't gone utterly insane. The only way out of this is for the West to devolve social policy to the local level, from the federal level, so that the few remaining enclaves of sanity in the West might demonstrate by example that there are real alternatives to radical Islam. The 10th Amendment reserves to the states power over social policy, which federal anarchy has arrogated to itself. Rand Paul is the candidate who has shown the greatest commitment to the original interpretation of the U.S. Constitution.
Marco Rubio.
Do you mind if I come up here to be able to see the audience? Excuse me. If you bear with me, I prepared about 4 or 5 minutes of talking points. I'd just like to get through them. And of course, if anyone else wants to talk about Marco Rubio after me, please feel free to. Our country is plagued with $19 trillion in debt, and our current president is responsible for the majority of it, adding about $1 trillion per year during his presidency. Hillary Clinton is billing herself more and more of late as a continuation of the Obama administration. 4 to 8 more years of this sort of policy will bankrupt this country economically through taxation and economic contraction. Bernie Sanders would be no better than that at all, being a self-described socialist. His tax plans on corporations and individuals would cause an economic upheaval, probably, most certainly. Also, Hillary Clinton has under 50% favorability rating in most U.S. polls, and her public opinion has serious character flaws and issues that she needs to reconcile. But I hope we'll all agree to support the eventual Republican nominee. The party is full of good candidates, which we're all here for tonight. If you are undecided on who to support tonight, I encourage you to ask yourself 2 questions. which candidate would be best for Iowa and which candidate would be best for the country. And then you must weigh the two of those questions critically. If you truly want a Republican to be the next president, you must ask yourself which candidate is best equipped to beat Hillary, or Bernie Sanders, or if it comes to it, Joe Biden. It's not an easy decision. In my opinion, it is imperative to ask critically which Republican has the best chance of winning purple states. It's not a popularity contest, and it's not a name-calling contest. When contemplating swing votes, which candidate is most electable with independents, women, and minorities? These are serious questions that need to be asked. Who can out-debate their Democratic counterpart? To all of these questions, one candidate stands out as the most equipped to accomplish all of these things, I believe. And that's why I support Marco Rubio. He is the best debater in the party. He appeals best to minorities. He appeals best to the middle class, having two parents who were middle-class workers themselves. And like many of us, he has saddled with student loan debt, even to this day. And to be concise, I believe he looks presidential. Not only would Marco Rubio not raise income taxes for any income tax bracket, he would simplify the tax code while making tax cuts for individuals, and would also lower corporate taxes, which would make it more affordable for businesses to do business in the U.S., which would ultimately create more jobs and increased economic output, unlike the current president, who has lowered economic output. On day one, Marco would repeal executive orders that President Obama has illegally signed into law, and he would also appeal Affordable Health Care Act, which is also called Obamacare. Marco would strengthen the military. In a time of global uncertainty, Marco Rubio will be a commander-in-chief our enemies will respect. Marco Rubio also advocates building a wall on the border with Mexico and 100% surveillance of our U.S. borders. Marco Rubio is a Florida senator, and the nominee would have the best chance, the Republican nominee would have the best chance of winning a general election being in a purple state, the largest purple states being Florida and Ohio. As a Republican candidate, it's just imperative to win Florida and Ohio to get the White House. No Republican candidate has ever won the White House without winning Ohio. Having said that, I envision something like a Rubio-Kasich ticket, or maybe a Rubio ticket with a powerful female, like Carly Fiorina, Joni Ernst, Iowa's own Joni Ernst, or Nikki Haley, the governor of South Carolina. This would give, let's look at the first thing I suggested. Rubio-Kasich would almost guarantee Florida and Ohio, which history has shown us that no Republican candidate has not won the election if they win those two states. And in the second example, Rubio with a powerful female as vice president would somewhat negate what Hillary Clinton has been, she's been pushing her champion of women's rights all along, and that would largely be negated in that instance, which would be a good thing for the Republican nominee. Today is February 1st. If you are committed to having a Republican being the next president, I implore you, support who is in position to win on November 8th. Thank you.
I have a question about Rubio. What is the story behind the $22,000 that he charged to a government credit card that took his family to Disney World, that provided home improvement, and it took him 5 years before he would actually provide the receipts for that?
And if anybody wants, I actually have that documentation on that where you can go and look at it in several different places that is proven. And that has never been answered properly.
Yes, ma'am.
I agree with that.
Rick
And he
Cantor,
was part of the Gang of Eight. He was for amnesty, you know, the right to citizenship.
anybody think they for Rick Santorum? Okay, Donald Trump.
Go ahead, you can start us out. Well, I guess, yeah, I don't really have a speech. I just have a passion. And actually started out Democrat and changed. And I was asked to speak for Cruz and to volunteer and make phone calls. So I decided I'd do a little bit of research. And that research on Cruz did not come out very good. It was really bad. First off, the current stuff, the smear campaigns with, you know, with tearing down that poor old lady's house in Atlanta in 1998, not true. He didn't do it. He used an eminent domain called spatial. And what that is it's basically an eminent domain that business people use when they're buying up residential property. And he was offering over the amount that was, you know, that they, you know, the house is going to be worth. And when you're buying residential property and you're changing the zoning, you know, to a business or whatever, you have to change the zoning. And, you know, and he offered it to everybody. And this one woman, old woman, held out, and he backed off. Yeah, he took her to court because that's what you do when you do eminent domain. But he backed off. And then they show this commercial tearing down this house. He got in trouble for that commercial because it wasn't true. And Donald Trump also never said that Iowans are stupid. He was referring to Iowans don't sit there and listen to what the media is saying and take it for granted that we are not stupid. And they took that little piece of text and made a commercial out of it. That happened to be Rand Paul, thank you. Sorry. And, you know, and so, I mean, and then also Ted Cruz, whenever they were fighting the amnesty, he's in court, or I mean, not in court, but in Congress, fighting the amnesty. All he did was come up with a poison pill, showing him that he was on their side. And all he did was come up with a poison pill, basically trying to show him on their side to create so much, you know, controversy that everybody dropped it. Does anybody really want somebody that has to do parliament tricks? Seriously? You do, I mean, why can't you come up and say, this is what I stand for? Why do you have to do a parliament trick? Why do you have to use a poison pill to knock them out? That's ridiculous. You know, I don't know. I found out way too many lies about him. And his wife, you know, I mean, they borrowed $1 million from Goldman Sachs at a very, very low interest rate. You know. Hush. Well, you know, I actually have, Trump does have some plans. He has several plans. But I also still want to, I'm sorry, I want to go back to Rand Paul. One of the things, you know, that he says, I want to tear up the Iran deal. All right? We all do. We hated it. It was stupid. It was a lot of money. It was a bad deal. Other than the fact that we did a speaking of. But the problem is, yeah, it was very bad. It was very bad. But the problem is right now, the bad stuff, the only part is it's done. And it wasn't even really Iran getting most of the money. It was the UK banks. You know, do your research. Go back and find out where the money actually was going to. That's why it passed. It wasn't because they cared about Iran. It's because the banks wanted their money back. You know? But it's done. It's done. The money's gone. So if you tear up the deal right now, what do? We take away all our negotiating points. We take away all of our negotiating points. We have nothing to negotiate. And then we can't go in and check it. So you can't just tear up a deal. Besides, you know, and then you create some bad chance with the U.S. So Donald Trump, he actually wants to go in, and he wants to check that. He wants to go in. He wants to make sure all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted. And he wants to, and you know this man can go to a contract. So if anybody can tear that contract to shreds, it will be Donald Trump. And he's going to get the right people in there and to let him do it. He's not going to just pick somebody because they happen to be one of his buddies. He's going to actually get somebody done for the job because he knows how to do that. And if you go in and look at his tax plan, he actually does have a tax plan. People go out there. And it's just as detailed as any of them on the other ones. I've gone in and looked. It is actually a very detailed one. And if you're an arcade bracket, it's looking at 15%. And for those of you that have got businesses, that want to start a business, one of the problems is you start a business, they come in, they change the tax plan on you, you know, on what you can and can't do, and now all of a sudden you can't open your business because of this stupid little tax thing. He wants to make the tax plan consistent where they can't go in and change it on a regular basis. I don't know, what do you, I agree, you know, I really do think that he can fight for us.
It's equal credit with China, or when,
Yeah,
Clinton
China.
signed it, when Clinton signed that deal back when he was in
In
office,
2000.
with the World,
Stand up and you tell him.
with the World Trade Office, we got that on here also. Basically sold ourselves out. You guys wondering why we got thousands of, corporations leaving the country and everything else. You know, China can sell, 10 to 1 what they want to here, and we don't, we can't do anything inside their country. They haven't kept their agreement at all. The whole, World Trade Agreement with China needs to be taken back to the table and completely redone and renegotiated. And he seems to be the only one that wants to do that, you know, and that's the main heart of your, what you guys are calling your economy. That's for all businesses and corporations. I'm a union sheet metal worker. I've been in the steel business almost 40 years. I've watched, I used to be a steel worker. I've watched steel mills and everything else close down all over the damn country. We only have a few of them left. And mostly all they do is they melt down steel. But China's come over and bought most of all of our raw materials and everything else, and then they're melting it down, they're making the steel, and they're sending it back to us. 3 times for what we used to pay for our own American workers to make. You know, if we don't get some of this stuff back, we'll be in trouble. So I just say, I think he's the right man economically more than anybody else with his business experience, and he's not willing to let somebody buy him out.
Yeah,
And-
that's another big thing. He's paying for it himself. Some of us do donate. Some of us do donate and give him small portions.
He's
But
willing.
it's mostly his, it's all his own money.
Getting time for the election now. I'll pass out the Riverton ballots, he's gonna pass out the Farraguts. And you tell me who's who.
It's fast. Some precincts, it's like 2 or 3 hours, I read.
Good job, Adam.
I'm no public speaker, that's for sure.
That's a good job.
Thank you, George.
I was kind of thinking about standing up there, but you handled it very well.
Oh, great. I had some points written down. I'm terrible at delivery, but thank you.
I agree with you, 100%.
I was telling Carla how I ran into you folks at the aisle earlier. I was telling Carla how I ran into you folks at the aisle earlier, and you know, you suggested Rubio. I was happy. It's good to hear that. When it comes down to it, yeah.
I think if we want to kiss the election goodbye, nominate him.
I hear you. Right.
They're taking time.
I would agree with that. He's at least most likely to implode. I'll put it that way.
Yes, I think you're right, Stu. Go ahead. Yeah, there's some great crowd.
Wow. Oh, gosh. I kind of thought 30 people would talk or something. I thought a bunch of people. Farragut.
You want us to read them off to you? So can we just write on their Farragut?
Is that what we're supposed to do?
Well, they got a Farragut one.
Oh, there was nowhere to go over there. Okay. I'll go get us some Farraguts.
She said just write the name at the top, Riverton and Farragut. That's what she said.
Yeah.
For Farragut. Can we just write on there, Farragut?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
That's what I would announce right
Well,
on.
it doesn't even say Riverton on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this doesn't say Riverton.
Farragut River.
Farragut.
No.
There you go, John.
I haven't got a
Other George Patton.
I want 10 for myself.
Yeah.
We're not
I'll pass. Give me 10. I'll pass them down.
Anybody else down there? We're getting separated there. You doing all right down there? Are you okay?
That's a good point.
Are we okay?
Looking around, who was here, we were here 36 years ago, Darryl, down at the fire station, and we started an election at that time of Republicans back to the White House, and the economy improved, and the whole world improved for about 16 years. At that time, I think Darryl was pushing H.W. Bush, but I think Reagan got the nomination and made Bush as vice president. And we took the White House back to the Republicans. And this is the most important thing that we have to do here tonight is once we've decided on a candidate, is all of us Republicans have to get behind him and getting elected.
Here.
You're right, Caucus. If you remember back in 1980, that was the case. And George so he surprised a lot of people in Iowa, and that was quite a contested race. And Reagan asked Bush to be his running mate, which surprised everyone. More than anything, that Bush accepted. But that united the Republican Party back here in 1980. And that's what we're all going to have to do again. If we're going to win the White House back, we're all going to have to grab an oar, and we're all going to have to row.
Nope. We missed the boat. Okay. Farragut.
We're gonna start, we're gonna pass the buck bag around. Our local Republican Party is in need of anything that you can spare to donate to fundraisers and things. I'll start it up here, and then I'll start going around this way. So the support the president.
Yeah, we supported with that. Who gets that money?
We took it down to the bar here.
Support local economy. Oh, wait. Is there a mark your other candidate?
Remember, there's three branches of government. The guy says, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. We run into this so many times, they can't do anything. We need a person that's going to bring people together so they can work with the other two branches of Congress, and I'm very worried about the Supreme Court. If you look at the age of the people on the Supreme Court, the next president could nominate 2 or 3. If you want a liberal court, or more, yeah. If you want a liberal court, you can't be divisive here. We all need to get together and help our Republicans win. Because if we lose the court, we've lost everything. You mentioned eminent domain. The Supreme Court in 03 in city versus the city of New London, that city decided that we could take your property from you, even though you had a use for it, but we can put a mall on it,
and we can develop it, and we can get more tax dollars. That breaks the Constitution into pieces, people. That eminent domain right there is just one ruling from this Supreme Court that we have to worry about. There's dozens of things out there that we're not even aware of. So we have to remember that. Let's get somebody in there and get behind whoever you want to vote for.
Do I have everybody's ballot?
Obama overwent everybody and signed that one deal going
He's pulling a solid third. He's not expecting to win second. Chicken scratch. Okay, we started out. Unless it's really bad, then it won't. However, I really thought it would be more compelling if people would want to listen to it, but it really hasn't been.
You want to run for office?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I need somebody over there.
I'd go to a meeting to learn more about that. I'd hate to just a shot in the dark say yes. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. Or I know a couple sentences about it. That's about it.
Well, you still have time, I think.
I don't know. I know nothing about that.
I've had people try to get me to
Oh, that would be great. You would be great at it, Joe.
I'm not a
You might not enjoy it. I'm not a politician either. I like to keep to myself and stay in imaging. I'm not either. It might be a fun challenge.
I don't enjoy it.
I don't know. Yeah. You're talking me out of it, you realize, because I'm the same.
You're good.
Oh, heavens.
I agree with you.
She's trying to talk to
It'd be
me.
hard.
What is it even? I don't even know what it entails.
Just name recognition.
And that's what I'm bad at. That's terrible suit for me.
It'd be a battle. It'd be a challenge.
That's how she's building. She's trying to get me challenges. For better or worse, as they say. Yeah, you
established more in the process, really strong party. I represent Trump. It's like this.
I like those guys a lot.
But you can't go to Washington. The work to establish this, that's where our country's so bad. And it needs to fast. You can't wait.
I agree.
When you go to establish the system of correcting problems, Obama got everything he wanted. In the Republic, got the Senate and the House. Now, why did Obama get everything he wanted? I tell you what I think. That's just my belief. I think there's one or two leaders out of the House and Senate coming. And they pick all the committees they have to sit. 2 or 3 people in each house.
As far as checks and balances go, it doesn't. It seems like he gets whatever he wants, right? How does that happen when you've got a Republican in the House?
And all they do is come up and blame people and make excuses.
Yeah,
that's all you get.
It's a broken system, and I think that's why you're talking about really come September, come November. When it comes to purpose, that's what I'm saying. I want to make sure a Republican gets into office. Is Trump or Cruz likely to win?
Pardon me, sir.
I don't think. Well, perhaps, but I think my boy Rubio is more likely to win. He may not be wrong.
It was. We've been waiting a long time.
And that's what these kids
Yes, I think he's a great negotiator. I think his cat will be really awesome. Probably the next girl. I don't know, been dating a year. He's their first year. You know, what if he gets a Republican nomination? That there's still a few months in the I tell the other people for the election. What if he wants something? I admit, and I can see that, you know, he's trending uphill still at this point. But what if he says something completely toward something that ain't gonna work? I mean, that ain't gonna happen. I don't agree with that. I mean,
Out of curiosity, how many people is at a caucus for the first time?
wow.
Appreciate your interest. Okay. I have a nomination for, what is this for? Central Committee people? Two?
I can't hear. What?
That's the guiding organization of the Republican Party for the county. The two people from Riverton to serve on that Central Committee. Who's doing it now? Beats me, I'm Farragut. That's good enough to keep them in there.
Nominate John Ross.
Iris? Oh, she counts down.
Hey, you need somebody that knows what they're doing?
Theoretically, you can learn. It's not that bad.
I volunteer.
No. Usually runs 4 or 5 meetings a year.
I volunteer.
Okay? Anybody wanna? Who are you?
Yeah.
Serial number.
Carl Parmeter. Carl Parmeter.
Okay. Anybody else?
No. You got the drug test.
You already are. Yeah. She went. She went.
You wanna do it?
Can we nominate somebody?
He's good.
Can we nominate? Do you have your two?
Yeah, we got two.
Okay, fine.
You only voted on one.
We voted on one, do you want to, we haven't voted on the second
Got
one
a
yet.
volunteer, we approved that one.
Okay.
And John got nominated and elected. Okay. Now we need delegates. Well, I guess we could do the same for Farragut, that was on this stuff. Let's do references, delegates to the county convention. Riverton gets 5. That's one night a year, maybe. I don't know, sometime I'm there, March.
March 12th.
March 12th. Either one.
I'll volunteer.
Anybody else want to volunteer? Be nominated? You nominated you too. I volunteered. Oh, okay.
Well, those guys are going in. those two must be free beer, huh?
The Trump people.
Kirk Shear just
Trump
said
crews. Those
Oh, he
people.
said Farragut. Oh.
Two more.
I was trying to point at Clay.
Yeah. He was too comfortable over there. Get him moving.
Small area, right? I'll have room in the ground.
Okay. Have a motion to approve the people that volunteered?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, I'll nominate them all.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, okay. Now, I just got these papers about an hour ago. What's going on? Alternate delegates. Have some of them if we want 5 of them. Replace somebody that can't work. Convention. Does anybody want to be an alternate delegate? In case one of these guys can't go? Thank you so much.
You may be an alderman.
You can have up to 5, we've got 1.
Cindy can't go, it goes to Chuck, and if Chuck can't go, it goes to whatever that guy's name
We're
Benny Costo's an alderman.
We're actually fair.
Yeah, we're Farragut.
He wasn't gonna speak up. Imogene. So we're in the Farragut people, but to fit over there, we would have to be crawled up on top of the bookcases, I think. Crowded over there.
Irish Morrison.
Sanders comes around my house and left the sheet, you know. For Sanders.
Oh, really? Oh, like a door-to-door?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Did you talk to him at all?
Oh, just a little bit, no. I didn't really have a whole lot to say.
Yeah, no one came by our place. I was ready to talk to him. I mean, Imogene, Iowa, no one wasted their resources.
Minimum wage would be $15. I wouldn't sell for 15, I'd go for 20.
That's a big step up, that's for sure.
About 2 weeks, there all the products would go up.
Yes,
Your raise would not do nothing.
your Big Mac would become a $10 Big Mac.
All minimum wages is sound bites. And furthermore, it's actually unconstitutional. When we get down to it. And the government has no business telling you how to pay somebody for hire.
If no one wants to work there, then there wouldn't be any jobs, and you would have to increase your wages until you had some demand for that position. Exactly. Right, that's right.
But don't throw laws in on our regulations.
Agree.
Hey.
I nominate Jeff Day for Queen. He didn't even hear it, Jeff.
The board, not the speaker. That's why I brought it. Distraction. How do you know?
We can't hear. We can't
Farragut
hear.
is 13 delegates.
Where is this at?
Should have been Christmas.
Scroll down. Sometime mid-March, probably.
This is not for voting.
No, it's Saturday night.
This is for county stuff. It's county voting. Not state delegates.
Volunteers married.
I don't know what it has to do.
13 people that have to represent in city.
I've watched the news every day, and I realize that to get a Republican in the office, in my opinion, winning Ohio and Florida are key. He's a Florida senator.
What is the outcome of the petition? What is it about?
We're the
What are we volunteering for?
Okay, for one thing, the county candidates can be introduced. And then also, okay. And, what it does is sets the delegates to go to the district and national conventions. They approve a county platform. What else did you, Darryl? I forgot.
That's mostly it for the county convention. It's just an extension of what we're doing tonight, only it's a more formal process, and you elect delegates to go on to, as John said, district and then state convention. And you get into a lot more policy of well, what should be our position on gun control, what should be our position on abortion, what should be our position on national debt, what should our position be on international trade. But you get all voice that and have a vote on it, and what you want to advance as a county delegation in terms of policy.
Does that mean between now and then that you as a delegate would go out and, talk to people in the area?
No.
So you're just going off your own opinion to go out there and
Right.
do that?
Right. Well, you don't go in there with a petition. You just go in and this is supposed to be a group that elects people of like mind to represent ourselves at the county convention.
What is the date for that in March?
I don't know.
Well,
Somewhere around there, I'm not positive.
No,
All it is exactly what you
I
just did.
understand.
I would volunteer, and I would nominate you and Kirk Shear.
Great difference.
Do a run, Bud.
I just said there's Darwin Bud. And there's his wife, Sandy.
These people know the county so much better than we do. The other nominees.
What's that?
John, I
These
volunteer.
other people know the county so much better than we do. Everyone else knows the county better than we do. No, I don't think that makes any difference.
It's just exactly what you're doing. But at the next level, the county.
Yeah, both of us. What if it's a day you're working? How's that work?
Saturday night in March.
How many more do they need? Do you want me to ask that?
How many more do you need? How many more do you need?
I nominate, John, I'll nominate Adam and Dr. Carla Kucherick. Adam
Us two?
and
Us
Dr.
two.
Carla Kucherick.
We can spell that if you need us to.
one more.
Yeah, it'll be just fine.
I'm not really sure how to do it.
What's the over-under on if they spell their name right? Usually at least one H in there.
No, it's a good way to get to know people.
We've got,
You guys are good at that.
That's great.
Steve Owen, Allison Queen, John Whipple, Cheryl Whipple, Kirk Shear, Carl McLaren, Chris Teachout, Darryl McLaren, John McAllister, Karen McAllister, Adam, Carla, Steve Baker.
No last names.
Carla. It's Carla.
If there's anybody who really wants to go, I'd step down to an alternate, if somebody really wants to go. I try.
Way to throw yourself out.
Okay, we have a motion to approve those volunteers.
I make a motion.
Okay, is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Okay, we can do the same thing with alternates.
Got a volunteer?
Same number?
Ready? What's your name again? Well? Anybody else? Well, that's two. Why, where do you Anybody else?
Remember, this is government of the people, by the people, for the people, of the people.
I guess we'll go with those two for now. Well, I guess we're right now on, oh, Junior down
Neighbor kid.
Should've would have.
It'll look good on a resume.
Or what?
Really?
Got me a long take them off. I think we're breaking in young.
Okay, way to go. I'm gonna nominate a friend to go with you.
Okay, how about Target? You guys know you want to drive. I mean, Finn.
Funny.
Well, I guess, we go ahead and start on the platform, all the results for the election. Anybody got anything you want to put on the platform?
Don't know.
Goes from here to the platform committee and the county convention. Added or rejected, and then on to the district and state. Immigration moratorium.
Is that a job of a lot of traveling, a lot of staying overnights or something?
Which?
Any of them?
No, it's, no, well, the district convention, maybe, depending on, if you're on a committee. But the state convention, yeah, it's probably 1 or 2 nights. If that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't be away from home that long, my kitties. I can't take care of it.
Yeah.
I'd like to see respect life from birth until death. From conception till death, respect life. I would like that on there. Thank you.
Anything else?
Protection of the Second Amendment.
I would like to rebuild our military so that we have strength and to honor our veterans.
Yes.
All the way.
Okay, we've got some election results for, Riverton. Looks like Marco Rubio's 11. No, Trump is 17, excuse me. Rubio's 11, Ted Cruz with, 6, Christie 2, Rand Paul 1. Total 37 votes. Okay, Farragut had 82 votes, 33 for Trump, 19 for Rubio, 15 for Cruz, 5 for Jeb Bush, 3 for Ben Carson, 3 for Rand Paul, 2 for John Kasich, 1 for Rick Santorum, and Chris Christie has won.
How many was that total again?
For which,
Before you start naming off.
82 for Farragut.
Total? 82. Thanks.
How many total for Riverton, please?
37.
Thank you.
Any more platform items?
Yeah, 100 people around. Provide kind of, hey, we're providing our own heat.
He said, national debt under control.
And I have another one, protection of religious liberties.
I do have one. I do feel very strongly about that Iran bill. I don't think that they should go in and tear it up.
because that we lose all of our negotiating power.
A bunch of them are talking about the one tearing up the red seal. And that's bad news for us. That's really bad news for us. It needs to go on over, but not. Yeah.
I didn't know for sure it'd be that way, but I don't know.
Yeah. And unfortunately, Cruz, he's the one that's trying to. At least the government subsidies of
Well, they just came out with the ads, and it's overall bad for everything. And I'll guarantee you, with enough money, I can get the results you want on any of those scientific polls.
When we talk about the Iran mess,
Repeal anchor bait.
Yeah.
you talk about, we wouldn't have any negotiations for oil and so forth?
No, what, we wouldn't be able to go in and do our inspections, even though they're really poor inspections, we still get to go in and do the inspections. So, you know, I've got a whole list of the different things that we actually accomplished out of it. The bad things are already over and done. We've lost the money, we've lost the deal. You know, all that's gone. But if they go in and say that we're not gonna honor it, we lose strength with the UN, and we lose our negotiating power, which basically, you know, so it makes no sense to tear it up. It's a bad deal, but we have to deal with it. It's already done. And so if they go in and say that we're not gonna honor it, we lose our negotiating power, we can't go in and do our inspections, no matter how bad.
Okay, I understand what you're saying now, I didn't understand.
It would be bad policy.
Bad policy, yeah. What we need to go in, and like they said, force them to go to break their own agreement so that we can start enforcing the sanctions.
Right.
And getting Belgium and Turkey and the Brits and, you know, and get all them back behind us and say, okay, we're enforcing these, you know, we're gonna squeeze you, we're gonna start cutting off your funding. But the thing is, if we just back out of it, it's not gonna do us any good. It's just a bad,
And I was just thinking about the oil situation. We're providing ourselves with more oil than we ever have for years. So we don't need their oil.
No, it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that. It's just being able to go in and do the inspections. We basically opened up our sanctions so that they could, you know, so that they could start trading.
I got you, yeah.
And if we ignore it, we don't trade, we have no.
We'll have to close it, everybody's leaving.
Hey, take care.
Whip.
You have the totals, like once more?
All together,
Yeah.
together, right?
Yes.
Like three
We have to do
candidates.
it all separately, so I'll have to add them
Oh.
together.
Well, you can just give us the other, the other way.
Okay, so Farragut, Jeff Bush had 5, Ben Carson 3, Chris Christie 1, Ted Cruz 15, Jason 2, Paul 3, Rubio 19, Sanford 1, and Trump 33. And for Riverton, Christie had 2, Cruz 6, Paul 1, Rubio 11, and Trump 17.
Yeah,
I don't think they were expecting it, but not impressive.
I want to ask about the app.
A big reception. Another small wedding because his family.
I heard on the news today you guys text all the results into an app or something? Okay. Is that pretty easy to use? I haven't downloaded it or anything.
I don't know where they post them at. The app is something totally separate. It's just a submission one. And you just put the numbers in as your candidate. I would assume if you go to the GOP website, is where they're posting them.
I'm going to turn the news on once we get home and see what's going on.
It's pretty slick. It works.
Yeah. Technology, right? Thank you.
That's why he was in your class.
Yeah, all right.
There we go. The old pass over the top, huh? Do you want to be doing this or not? What are you doing?
I don't.
All right, let's get out of here.
I put archers away.
To anyone who is actually still listening to this, I will buy you a beer. Call me out on it. Thanks for listening.